they start to hear the noise of a door being cut down. And this is the knights, and the knights appear, and if you can imagine, it's about 4 p.m. on a winter's evening. The monks have been singing vespers. They break off singing vespers when they see Thomas being dragged in. There are various members of the public, local Canterbury people there as well. And the doors burst open, and you see these knights, and they're in full armour. You just see their eyes. Their swords are unsheathed, and they shout out, "Where is Becket, traitor to the king?" Now that reference to Becket, that's recalling his commoner origins in London. They should call him, "Where is the Archbishop? Where is Thomas?" And he says, "Here I am." And they approach him. They again start to say to him, "Why do you want to take away the crown from the young king?" All of these things. And he says none of those things are true. One of them apparently taps him on the shoulder with his sword and says, "Flee, you're a dead man." And he says, "I won't flee." He says, I fled once before. Like a timid priest, I fled to France. I'm now going to stand here and defend my church. Now, these are obviously all words reported afterwards, but a number of those people who wrote about him were present in the cathedral. Many of them were hiding behind altars, as they admit themselves, but they were there. They were looking at what happens. So, what were the knights trying to do? It seems very likely that they weren't trying to kill him. They were trying to arrest him. That they tried to drag him outside the church so that they could then arrest him and take him to Normandy. But of course, if you come into a church fully armed, things can happen. And it seems that there was a kind of a tussle as they tried to drag Thomas out of the church. He resisted. In one account, he actually pushed one of the knights and knocked him on the ground. And at this point, the first knight, Ranulph de Broc, swung his sword and cut the top of Thomas's head. The other knights piled on. According to his biographers, he said a last prayer as he fell on his knees, and then he lay dead on the ground. So here you have the Archbishop of Canterbury, one of the most famous people in Europe, the former friend of the king, killed by men who claimed to be acting on behalf of the king, in the most important church in the kingdom and in the sanctuary of that church.